Yeah, do you like to swallow?
Let's not go there. Let's not go there. I knew it. I knew it. Welcome back, everyone. So today
Welcome back,
we're
motherfuckers.
that as well. Uh, welcome back again to Movie Butter. Ah, shit, I damn near forgot our own channel. Welcome back to Movie Butter. We're reviewing Swallow. It took me a second to remember the title, even though I just watched the film. Anyway, so we are reviewing Swallow, as we mentioned in our last podcast, and this was a keen pick. Sorry, sorry about that. I'm never ready for these things. I'm never set up properly, so yeah, it is what it is. You can tell by the structure by our podcast that we're not the most organized.
Hey, it's organic. Okay.
There we go. It's organic. Anyway, so Keen had recommended a film, Swallow, and I forgot to turn off the AC. I hope that helps the audio somewhat, even though I'll be sweating in a minute. It doesn't.
I mean, I didn't notice anything, but please, no, this isn't about us. This is about our lovely viewers.
Yeah, all me
All
of
two
them.
of them.
Maybe one day we'll have viewers who will come back and watch this, so I'll keep the AC off in case it is affecting audio quality. Which, as we know in the past, on my end, has been kind of shit. So, anyway, goddamn, like I need to edit this entire chunk out. Swallow, we're talking about Swallow right now.
Yeah, do you like to swallow?
Let's not go there. Let's not go there. I knew it. I knew it. Like as I was watching it, I knew there would be a joke about spit and swallow, and I just knew because the second thing she tried to eat was the pin, and then she spat it out, and I'm like, Keen's gonna have a fucking field day with this.
But go
Let
ahead.
me get to it, man. Like, let's start the damn podcast.
All right.
So, I enjoyed it. I'll say this: it's not the story that I generally like. So the director, the writers, whatever, I'm not their target audience. I don't
Okay.
enjoy these kind of dark, gritty stories. That said, I can't really fault it much just because I didn't like it. It's not the genre that's up my alley, but it's a good film. It's a good story. It was well made. It was good acting. Like it was weird. I'm watching it and I'm like, why is she so docile, and why is she so weak? And at some points I'm like, is she like all right, all up there? Is she like? I figure maybe she was, not. I I don't know what the politically correct term is, but I felt like she didn't have all her mental faculties or something like that.
Okay.
So I wasn't sure what was going on. But then, obviously the story progressed and everything, we found out why. She'd be the product of rape, and she'd found out, and the therapist was saying that she depends on this man's love to be able to like keep her shit together.
Yeah.
And so obviously that part's it explained it. What I will say is, what I didn't understand why this guy was with her, because her docile Susie Homemaker 1950s housewife thing isn't the type of girl I would have imagined this male character to end up with. Because obviously
Mhm.
he's a very handsome man. He's wildly successful in terms of finances. He's kind of the product of nepotism, as you can see. So maybe he takes lead very highly from his parents. He didn't feel too strong, in my opinion, at least not mentally.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't understand what he saw in her, why he married her, because the way he sort of deflected her and cast her aside or whatever, I understood that, right? Like he's like, but I would understand it more if she was a trophy wife. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he seems
Yeah.
like the type of dude to have that kind of misses, and I didn't understand what he saw in her to marry her, or maybe he just liked the fact that she was docile and just submissive and things like that. That part was the part for me that the negative. Um, but it was I don't know much else about the film that I would say is bad. I mean, can't imagine a doctor breaking client privilege like that
Yeah.
when she tells him, oh, it was her past and it was the rape and everything, and it seemed to like she said it because he's threatened to fire her and find another doctor, and I'm like, okay, fire me, find another doctor, big deal. I'm not gonna break privilege.
Yeah.
It didn't add up, like that part. Other than that, I can't really fault it. I thought the acting on the young lady's end was really really good.
Mm.
Thought the story progressed well. I like the twists and turns. I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for what it was. Again, not really my cup of tea, but it was a good film.
Yeah.
At first, when she ate the marble, I'm like, okay. And when she tried to eat the pin, I'm like, getting a little crazy. And then it was just, at one point she's like eating mud as if she's like eating like sugar or some shit, like a kid
Yeah.
eating
Yeah.
sand on the beach. That was kind of weird.
Yeah.
And I knew that it was, just by the way the dad spoke and the way the mom spoke and everything. Like I knew they were like, oh, if she
Yeah.
weren't pregnant, she would have been donezo. She would have been divorced quickly because they spent the entire opening about, oh, it doesn't get any better than this. Are you
Yeah.
faking it or are you happy? Well, it doesn't get better than this, so you
Yeah.
better be happy. And I you can kind of see how they kind of bullied her mentally to the point where she was at. And then
Yeah.
obviously her with her background and her past, she's trying to get the best of whatever. But yeah, I don't know what much to say. The music was good. It was there when you needed it. It was there when you didn't need it. Like the scene where she's about to eat the pin. It was music that leads up, and as soon as she grabs the pin, it goes silent, and then you hear her trying to swallow. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's good. Oh, that's good. You know the foley, which is the art of the sound effects. So
Yeah.
not necessarily the soundtrack or anything, but the sound effects was really good. So it seemed like, because there was a scene, I forget which one, but it was, I remember she did something with her hand or she tried to swallow something and it seemed like so on point. I was like, okay, they nailed the sound effects on this, because I don't
Yeah.
think she was actually eating these objects in real life, because she's not, like, I know actors will push it sometimes, but not to that extent. But yeah, I can't fault the film too much. It was a very well made film, very good portrayal. Dialogue seemed good. I don't understand the scene where he tells everybody at the office about her condition. That didn't
Yeah.
seem. I'm like, no, no, no. He wouldn't. He'd be ashamed. He wouldn't announce this. But
Yeah.
tis what it is. So
Okay, so you've pretty much nailed, I'll say, almost everything that I wanted to talk about. So I guess my approach would be maybe fleshing out certain things. For one, I didn't like the fact that, sorry, don't get me wrong, I love this movie. Or I liked the movie. I liked it very much, enough to recommend it. Because I thought that it dealt with an unusual, um, should I say, maybe mental illness or something that a person did, which I just like the way the story ex I mean, basically conveyed what was going on with the lady, but it was a different thing because it's like, yeah, she's swallowing these things. You wouldn't necessarily connect it to her past, but then somewhere in the story, you kind of get that, okay, she was, um, she was someone that I guess had felt powerless over her life. She
powerless,
had felt
unwanted, like,
unwanted. So it was kind of like she was an agreeable person. She was a people pleaser. She didn't have anything, like she didn't have control over, or she didn't feel like she had control. So she always wanted to please those people that were around her and stuff like that. I didn't like, of course, the fact that the family was the family and the husband were irredeemable. Like, and I say irredeemable, like, there was nothing nice about them, because I didn't think it was necessary for them to be the villains in the story, because there was already enough. It could have been a question. The question in the story is sub question is, I guess, should I call it sub question in the story could have been, is it her surrounding that's toxic, or is she the toxic one?
mm-hmm,
But it's kind of like they just beat us over the head with the fact that, oh no, her surroundings are what's making her do this. Like, she has no say in it. She's what's the word? She's not accountable.
mm-hmm,
So I
mm-hmm.
didn't really like that aspect of it. But and this is another thing that kind of pissed me off. This is why I'll try to flesh it out. One of the first scenes that we see with the husband, where they're having dinner. Actually, not the first scene, maybe probably the third scene or whatever, where they're having dinner, and she's she asks him a question. I think he's responding or something, or she's telling a story or something, and
And
he
the
gets
dad
a call.
interrupts. Oh,
No,
okay, right,
he
right,
gets
right,
a
right, right.
call or something. That's a pet peeve of mine when you can see, and I don't think it's just me. I've asked for permission, like I've excused myself, although I'm not excusing myself from the table. I'm trying to focus on responding to this thing. Then you interrupt and you're still talking, but you still, in a sense, expect that I will pay attention to what you're saying or what you're doing when I've already asked to be excused in a sense. So the way that scene was set up was
Fair.
in order for us to feel like, oh, she's been ignored. That was the first scene
Hmm.
that's set that up, and I just felt that was unfair. Of
What a
course,
bad way of setting up the premise that she's ignored.
a bad way of setting it up. Now, of course, the other scenes, yeah, the families looked like jackasses, but then that scene where, and this is much later in the story, where she's in the hotel and she's apologizing to him and all this stuff, about leaving and stuff like that, where he gets out of the car that his dad is in because they don't know where she is, they're looking for her, and then all of a sudden his tone shifts and then he calls her a cunt and all these little things. I felt that was unnecessary. It
No, I
was
get
they
it.
had already.
I get it though. Because that dude, if you look at him in the film, he basically the family wants out, and like one of the things that bugged me is that the entire film was kind of told with her perspective. Like she had so much screen time because she was always in the subject. I'm like, can we like leave her for a moment and examine what's going on with this husband and the mother and the father? Because I knew if she wasn't pregnant, they would have wanted her divorced and out of their lives.
Yeah,
And it culminated when he said, "Oh, I want a divorce," and then that's why she escaped. And I get it because he was faking it for such a long part of the film that he just kind of
yeah.
snapped. He just snapped, and he was like, "Get fucking back here with my cat." You know what I mean? 'Cause
Oh
like,
no,
he just couldn't hide it anymore. I fully understood that.
oh no. So that part. So like, exactly. I wanted, because it exactly, like, it was more from her side. They weren't addressing how the family should have felt with someone who was batshit crazy. I mean, for lack of a better term. Um, but it was just when he went negative, like, who's going to want you? Nobody's going to want you. Like, come back over here, you cunt, whatever, whatever.
Right, right, right.
That part wasn't necessary. Him flipping the fuck out when it was like, you bring my kid back here or whatever. I totally understand that
I
part.
see what you mean. There was no need
Yeah.
to abuse her verbally like that before
Yeah.
the freak out.
Yeah.
Like you're
So,
not manipulating her in a proper way there. Like I understand how you manipulated her when, oh, you just need to see a therapist. Oh, we just need this dude to watch you 24/7. Oh, we just need you to go to this mental hospital. You can kind of see the where the manipulation can be believable in the sense that okay, they're looking out for my interests here, but then her telling her no one's gonna love you doesn't get better than this. They're spelling out the emotions that she's supposed to have felt up to this point given her past. But
yeah.
then saying it like that wouldn't be the correct way to manipulate her. I think that's what you mean, right?
Yeah. I mean, at least for the sake of the story.
Right, right.
Um, then of course, with the whole thing about accountability, like, um, I get that stories have to be told, and yeah, you can tell it from different points of view, but I hate when it's made to seem like this person didn't have a choice. She married into that family. She had expressed that she felt grateful because there was all this, and it afforded her so much time and whatever. And I know she had a tragic backstory, but ultimately marrying into a family like that, especially when you're from nothing, come on, they are going to be controlling. You know
But
that's
that
kind of the
wasn't
name of the.
that
I mean,
wasn't what like got to her. Like here's the thing. So in parts of the film, it seemed like he didn't love her at all as a husband, and then in other parts, like when they're having sex and she gets off before he finishes, I'm like, oh, she's using sex as a weapon, and then she immediately
yeah,
asks him like, do you love me unconditionally? Do you still love me unconditionally? And that bugged me, but just because of the word unconditionally, he's like, no, do you still love me now that you know I have a flaw? Because if he previously loved you unconditionally, you don't have to ask right now. And this whole unconditional love thing, like I get it. It's reflecting the whole mom, dad, parent, child relationship. Parents tend to love you unconditionally or blah blah blah. But what bugged me, I'm sorry, I'll let you, I can tell you need to say something. What bugged me was that he said, yeah, I do love you. There was no hesitation, there was no forethought. I'm like, okay, so he does love her. But it's not he loved her in that scene, and then all his other actions throughout the entire movie were not that of a man that was in love with a woman. And so I couldn't understand what if he had loved her at some point, and then that's why she decided to get married despite all the power issues with power and control and whatever. I'd understand that, I'd follow that. But it didn't ever seem, apart from that one moment in the film, that it seemed like it was a two-way relationship. And I just don't understand. Like I said, I don't understand why he was dating or married to someone like her.
Okay, so that question was a question she had. He had actually said that initially. He had said that sometime earlier in the movie that I love you unconditionally. Blah blah. I don't remember the exact way he worded it, but it was very similar to the question that she asked. So it was kind of like that was before, she started with all that stuff. So afterwards, she was just checking. But of course, asking while you're withholding him getting the opportunity to, release, especially when he apparently really needed that. Of course, I mean, come on, you guys are going
She's
to tell
using
you
sex as a
anything.
weapon. We get it.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, of course, the whole issue that I mentioned about, control or whatever. I mean, it's besides the point because ultimately in the story it was about, the thing that I noticed was powerlessness and control. And I already mentioned that with, some of our other movies, so maybe it might just be me. But that's something I noticed with this character that she didn't feel like she was in control. And she even I noticed it earlier in the movie and she confirmed that while she was with the therapist. So it was kind of like, um, not even kind of like, it was basically that what that I was thinking to myself that the another name, possible name or a funny name for the movie would have been when self-help advice goes wrong, because
The book and the line, and I did something unexpected today or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, but then again, it's because she already had a tendency, or there was something already off. But it's like, yeah, I get it with the textures, or you doing something, the textures, putting weird things in your mouth or whatever. That's more of like a kiddie thing, right?
Mm-hmm. I
But
love
then,
the. Oh, sorry. Keep going.
no, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I
Actually,
love the way they revealed the name of the medical condition she had or mental condition she had, where they're fighting. He's like, "You should have told me about this before we got married." She's like, "I didn't even know I had Pico, or I think it was Pico's."
Pica
Yeah.
or something. Yeah, something like
So I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like it was a very cool way for them to sort of flesh it out and show it, and then we didn't have to see her eat all the things that they fished out of her stomach. Some of them were kind of weird. And I was just like, when she ate the screwdriver, even that, I was like, all right, too much, lady. Like, just too far.
I thought she was gonna die.
I thought,
At that point, I was like, oh, she did. Yeah,
but I'm
you're
glad she
trying to.
didn't. I'm glad she didn't. I love the ending way more than if she had died. Because she's all alone, essentially, right? She's all alone.
Yeah,
She leaves the husband, the family, and she's on the run, and she calls her mom, and her mom basically doesn't want her, which makes no sense to me. Like, if you're gonna have the child from a product of rape and then you're gonna abandon them, why did you have them? It just made no sense. Anyway, so let's get, that's a whole other conversation. So she's all alone, and I was shocked as fuck when she went to her biological father, and the fact that they put it in the party scene, and he's a dad, and he's like helping the daughter cut the cake, and then she's now like, I'm in control. And then it's like, if you look at rape, like
yeah,
rape is about control, and she's like now raping him, and figuratively speaking, of course, where she's like, no, I'm in control. I could fuck up your entire life right now. You listen to me. I could make the shots.
yeah,
I'm like, all right, I see why they spent 70 minutes or 80 minutes building up to this. You know what I mean?
yeah. Even with it was more like little increments of her realizing, oh, I have control over little things. Like even that whole the sex scene part was,
Right. See, I didn't catch
yeah,
that. You're right. Yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
control what I put in my mouth. I control if he
yeah.
orgasms or not. And okay,
Ex-
yeah. And then she ended up having the abortion, right?
Abortion?
Well,
Oh,
when
yeah,
she,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Wait, did she?
Yeah, so when the scene where she's at the doctor and she says, "Take a pill now and then put four in your mouth, let them dissolve, swallow it," and then she's in the bathroom and it's all blood. I'm like, she got rid of the baby, and I'm like, okay, it makes sense because it's like she was only 2 months in, right? Because remember they tell her
Yeah.
you need to spend 7 months at the hospital, so she's in her first trimester, so the baby's
Okay.
not big enough or anything. I'm like,
Okay.
okay, that was because then she talked about how her mom didn't want to give her up regardless of anything, and then again another form of her exerting control, another way of her like, I don't need my dad, I don't need this guy. Like to me, it was a nice kind of way of, at the very end, she just sort of smiles to the camera before she walks off the shot, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, it's basically her saying she's found her backbone.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, for some reason, because I watched it twice, so the second time around, I kind of just zoned over that part. I don't know how I missed it, but good thing you brought it up. But yeah, I totally on. It's weird. The illness, I kind of got it because I mean, I don't know about you. As a kid, I did eat some weird things, and I knew that, and I understood that there's something weird, and I think it's just general. There's something weird, like when you finally do something that's taboo,
Hmm.
something it's especially if you have an addictive personality, if there is such a thing, it's almost like you're compelled to do those things. Like it wouldn't let you, like it's always going to keep voicing itself in your head, like do this, do this,
No,
do
I
this,
get
do
it.
this, until you say whatever. So that part where she tries the swallow the pin initially of the thumbtack, and then she spits it out, whatever. I totally understood why she had to go back, because it was like, if I don't do this, I'm not like I'm not going to forgive myself. This thing, I'm going to keep thinking about it and all this crap. And then she keeps building up, building up, building up, like, swallowing things that are worse. Let's see. Guys, don't mind me for looking down. Usually I have my notes, but in this
Bro,
case I have it on my cell
I
phone.
look down, left, right, up. I adjust the fucking camera. I adjust like the footing of the table. I do so many things. Like, if they're upset by that, they're gonna be upset by literally everything I do. Like my entire existence. Like, man, fuck this guy.
Yeah, I think for the most part I already covered everything that I wanted to with the movie. Like I liked it.
I
I liked it very
liked I
much.
liked the scene with Loei where he goes, "Yeah, the reason you're fucking weird and you're eating things is because you haven't lived through war." Like,
That was very
I was
true.
like, it was harsh as shit, but it is true. I was like,
Yeah.
damn, bro, like you have no chill. Like you just went straight for it. Huh? It's like, yeah, fucking rich people in America eating shit because they don't have real troubles. Like,
And it's true. It's true.
yeah, I get it, I get it. And
Yeah.
when you're faced with stuff like, I mean, I think statistically, people who are richer tend to have higher rates of suicide, is because when the physical troubles in life aren't there. That was my dog, by the way. When the physical troubles in life aren't there, your troubles become emotional or mental. So I kind of, it was a nice nod to that fact, and the fact that he looked like somebody who'd been through a war. I mean, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. I'm in Egypt. Most men look like that, angry and really bad hairlines in Egypt. Uh, so his anger was part Syrian, part someone who'd been through a war, and like, well, this was the only home care provider you could find. You couldn't find like a sweet lady or some shit. You had to find a
Yeah.
dude who looked like a soldier. Uh, it was a good film. Like I said, it's not my cup of tea, so I didn't want to. But I because I recognized that it wasn't the issue wasn't with the film or the story. It was with me. I didn't want to shit on it
Yeah.
because it was a well-made film. Some of the shots were a little long. They could have sped it up just a tad, but again, that could just be my own
Mm.
bias. I liked it. I enjoyed it. If you're a fan of psychological thrillers or psychological dramas, I should say, it wasn't really a thriller.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of psychological dramas, if you're a fan of films of this nature, of things like,
Mhm.
discussing mental illness, just deeply dramatic stories, something heavy. If you like heavy films, this will be right up your alley.
Yeah. And so there was also some nice voice acting by her mom over the phone. I just wanted to point that out too. That I
Yeah.
mean, that was a disembodied voice, and you could tell from that call, just what you heard, that her mom did not want her around. Her mom did not say it,
Bro,
didn't point blank say, but it was just the way her voice cracked towards the end. Like, there's no room.
dude, when she first had the call, I could tell something was up. I thought her husband had went to her mom or something. And then when
Yeah,
like she was like, your sister's here with the kid, I'm like, oh, he's not there. She just doesn't want her. And I was like, all right,
yeah,
yeah, fair play. It was a good film. Not a terribly sad or terribly happy ending, but it doesn't stay dark throughout the whole film. Good film if this is the type of genre you enjoy. And I think that's all we have to say, right?
yeah. That's all. That's it.
Well, tune in next week. We will be reviewing The Invisible Man. Uh, and then the week after that, we'll see. We don't know yet. But thank you for tuning in, movie butter fans. I'll come up with a name for you, the Colonels or something. Okay,
But
yeah.
no, I'm trying to come up with one on the fly. I don't know, man. The butterines, whatever. I don't know. We'll
Yeah,
figure.
we'll figure out something. I'll clip my dog's nails so when she walks, you guys don't hear everything the way I'm hearing it right now.
It's
Uh,
okay.
anyway, thanks for tuning in, and see you next week.
Peace.